All right, guys, what's up? This is a new episode of the Temple Body Podcast brought to you by ddon.life. So, a Temple Body is basically a subsidiary podcast of ddon.life, but when we enter the Temple Body Podcast, it's more of a specific direction. It's more of a wellness podcast, I would say. And I'm here with Ken Zen, Ken Hannigan, and we are live from the Eastern Room. If you go to James Primus Instagram, it's actually James Primus 3 because James Primus wasn't available. Well, I think one cool thing about this episode is the introduction of the new track.
There you go. And you just heard that track by Nick Ulrich.
Yeah.
He has no knowledge of us using his music.
It's created by Nick Ulrich, but brought to you by Ken Hannigan.
That's right. I did the quick bootleg remix, and there it is.
With a little bit
on the cast.
With a few additions, with a few tweaks. We'll call them augmentations.
I took some creative license with Nick's work. I've played his track in a few yoga mixes over at Moto Yoga, MPLS.
That's by Lake Calhoun.
That's,
I believe,
my primary hot yoga studio. I was there today.
And in fact, I'm going to go there tomorrow because Ken here is giving me a free pass.
That's right.
My favorite yoga class ever at Moto was on my birthday last year when they had sent me an email saying, "Hey, Dan, haven't seen you for a while, but we know it's your birthday coming up. Here's a free class. Come join any class you want for free on your birthday." Just happened to be the first day Ken was DJing at Moto. And so I went to my birthday yoga class. I think it was like at noon, probably.
Yes.
And not only was it awesome flow class, but DJ'd, but very specifically some of my favorite jams were played. So it just, how it all lined up and worked out like that, I felt like it was totally just the simulation. And I couldn't have asked for a better synchronicity on my birthday.
It's certainly a synchronicity of epic proportion because you were sending me, I think you were sending me Pandora screenshots of these tracks that are playing on a radio stream from another song that you liked. That was kind of a very yoga beats style genre anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that spawned a whole bunch of listening for you, and then you were essentially being my music stylist with yoga music. You were sending me all these tracks that you like, and I use some of them for sure.
Right.
And they filtered through into my set that day. And you're sitting there sweating in a puddle of your own sweat, gasping for air.
Mm-hmm.
And then your track kind of mixed into the flow of the class.
Completely energized me when you hear your jam.
You know, through your nose or out through your mouth and through your nose. There's different styles, but I think, as Wim Hof says, as long as you're getting the air in,
yeah,
and getting in deep, and focusing attention on your breath at all,
mm-hmm.
just to eke out that last bit of energy that you're going to need to maintain a posture or transition into another posture. And if you're timing your breath wrong and you only get a half of breath, you might not be able to, you might have to come out of it and catch your breath.
Right.
So that's what comes out of yoga, is just the idea that you're able to breathe better throughout the day. And then, perhaps lay in a snowbank and see how many breaths you can get up to before your body just screams and says, I have to get up.
Right. So it's acting as a timer as well, sort of.
I got up to 15 breaths in the backyard this winter. I wanted to do it more, but one day I just went out there in a robe and slippers and just down to the boxers, laid back.
Into the snow.
Into the snow. It was dark because I feel like if I get embarrassed being that we're within eye shot of the neighbors, like who's
right.
this naked guy in the backyard in the snow. But at night,
right,
no one's looking. It's in the pale moonlight, so you're just like, all I could imagine is one of you guys pulling up and I'm laying in the backyard essentially naked,
because the light will come and
catch a naked guy running in the backyard in the snow.
What the fuck?
But no one, my plan was if I heard anyone pulling up, I would kind of just bail.
Right.
But I only got 15 breaths in anyway because it was intense. So my whole back just was warm and my whole midsection just like, I felt this heat envelop my whole torso.
Yeah.
And I felt that feeling that was like endorphins. And it was like messages telling me, oh, you should do that again. It's kind of like when you have a potato chip, you have another, your brain fires again. It's like, oh, you should reach in the bag again.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that same feeling where I was like, you should go back out there. But I felt like, oh, I should probably just move on with my evening. I found there was resistance to going back outside. But you feel that every time you do it, really.
I agree. As soon as you get out of the cold water, you immediately feel like you're called back in to the cold water.
Super counterintuitive.
But I think, the daily breath, it's not even about the cold as much as these daily breath exercises is where all the magic's happening. So like lately I've been, like the past couple months, I'll wake up and it's been cold, right? So I get into the car and I crack the window open, and before I leave for like any appointment or coffee or anything, it's 10 super deep breaths, just, and that's just enough to start getting me lightheaded and dizzy, and I feel the tingling happening in my arms and sometimes in my toes. And then, on the 10th exhale, that's when I will hold it. And 10, 11, 12, it just depends how it feels. Like when I start getting dizzy, that's when I say, all right, hold my breath after I exhale and just go until it's comfortable. I'm not trying to force anything. And usually it's about 45 seconds, maybe a minute, depending on how hard I go on the deep breath work. And then after I need to take a breath, I take a nice deep breath in, and then I hold that, and that's where the pleasure is. That's where, like, whoa, it's like the endorphins hitting my head, and it feels amazing. And I just feel like that's a quick burst of happiness, and that qualifies to me as a start the day with a victory. Yeah. Because if you're oxygenating your blood, why now? How is that not and you get a rush of feel good? How is that not a small victory to start the day with?
Exactly.
I think I watched a podcast by Wim Hof, and it was titled "Never Get Sick Again," and it was like kind of the footage of him talking about how doing this, raising your blood pH through these breathing techniques really can send your immune system into just like super Hulk mode, and you just get rid of anything that's in there, fucking foreign invaders. So I haven't got sick yet this winter at all, or fall or anything, but knock on wood, I hope it's because I've been doing the Wim Hof breathing. Usually I get sick by now.
So you're just sitting in your car doing the breathing.
Yeah. And sometimes when I start driving, but there's been a few times where I get really dizzy when I'm driving. And even though it feels amazing, it's like, whoa. I mean, it is lightheaded. It is dizzy. So I think you got to be careful. I just have my foot on the brake, It's like if I have to, I try to make sure I don't take it too far while I'm driving. But I've actually talked to other people that say they like doing the breathing while they drive. It is a really good, perfect time to do it. You have fresh air coming in the car. You're just sitting there. You have nothing else to do. So even if you're listening to music, take 10 deep breaths while you drive. Maybe make it 5 so you don't get dizzy. But dude, 5 breaths will make me dizzy. 5 really hardcore deep breaths will make me dizzy. And that's all you need. It's just do a couple rounds of that. 3 rounds of 5. I highly recommend 3 rounds of 5.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of altering your consciousness in whatever way possible, but breathing is such a simple method, free, and always accessible. You just have to focus on it. And then coupling that with any kind of physical practice can also have those mind-altering effects.
Right.
And altering in maybe dizzy is one thing, but mostly positive ways. I think if you're getting dizzy, it's just your body telling you something.
Something's happening.
Know how to interpret it.
Right.
And not crash your car.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like whenever I get dizzy, it's the same level of dizziness. So it's like I think if I were to do more breaths while I was driving, I'm gonna get a lot more lightheaded, and that's not good. So keep it to I'll keep it to 5 really. Can I see that? Yes.
Dead Air Podcast, Palo Santo lighting session.
So we've got the Palo Santo lit right now. For podcast app listeners and Libsyn listeners, you can't see this, but if you're on Instagram Live, you can see the Palo Santo. And this is really just raising the frequency overall. When we're talking about frequencies, we're talking about light, sound, smell, taste frequencies, touch frequencies. This is just one of the many great frequencies in the realm of smell, So I like Palo Santo. We've got the diffuser. Put a little frankincense oil in there. Or just take a little frankincense oil directly to your dome on your finger. Just give it a quick like that. And I think that's where Ken's going right now to grab it. He dipped off because he knows perfect time to take a little hit of frankincense inside the Eastern Room. Thank you. So we're very lucky to have Ken here today on this episode of Temple Body Podcast. Oh, yes.
How many people do you think ingest frankincense that way? Well, I don't know. Is ingest the word you would use? Are you snorting it?
I mean, I try not to get too much of the actual oil up my nose, like into my sinus, but I do want a little bit to go up because I want it to have like a after zing. Like right now, I can feel it in there. But then you mix it with the Palo Santo, it's a very pleasant mixture, and I really like it. So we have the smell happening right now, and candles, that would be awesome photonic frequencies. And
yeah, the frequency issue, it's like, I just think burning things indoors, whether it's a fire or some Palo Santo wood or sage or whatever, that's like one of the elements. It's earth, and it's you want to just have that around you, because we live in these domesticated cubicle houses that we've built up, and we're not getting dirty, and we're not engaging with elements.
Right.
So that would be, I'd consider that kind of the earth element. And you have fire, of course, just something as simple as lighting candles or starting some kind of flame and burning something. And then we've been talking a bit about water earlier today. And I guess the cold exposure is a big water connector as well. So if you're perturbing your body with cold water or snow, ice, it's really penetrating deep into your tissue.
Yeah.
And setting off chain reactions within your body to come to the defense. There's an invader, there's this cold, that it's something that hasn't really gotten that deep ever.
Right.
You know, most people, unless you've had a near-death experience in a lake or something like that. And so I think a lot of people think it awakens something spiritual, of course, and then there's benefits to your physiology that I couldn't explain. I'm not a scientist.
Right.
But I've heard it explained well, and I trust it because I've actually done it and felt it. So I believe things that I can feel, as opposed to, I can read some things and it can sound good, but if you can actually experience it, and it's not like some kind of psychedelic experience or anything, it's just a subtle feeling that washes over you and goes away pretty quick. But I don't need any science to back it up, because I actually end up feeling good. And
right.
That's what human beings like to do. They like to feel good. They want to avoid suffering. They want to, try to be happy.
Comfortable too. But I think the thing about it is if you make a little bit of a sacrifice of discomfort, you get the rewards that your physiology will provide when you let that cold penetrate your skin. Like you said, there's a response by your brain, and that's something that we don't normally condition, that response, but you can condition it, and you can improve it, and you can make it stronger. And the cool part is you can take more control of it consciously, instead of it just being a autonomic reaction that you have no control over. So you just simply consciously say, I want more adrenaline right now, because I want to warm up my body, because it's cold out and I'm being exposed to cold. I need these chemicals, these hormones, to warm me up. And it works, and you keep practicing it, and it takes a while, but you keep practicing it. And I'm not saying I'm advanced or anything, but I have felt the little bit of rewards that you feel when you just do the daily 1 minute cold shower or something. You get out of it, and it's like totally amazing, feeling brand new and feeling 100% again, and better than if to wake you up. Especially if you got to get shit done, then take a cold shower and do some breathing, for sure, the breathing techniques. But I don't think they necessarily have to be coupled either. Like, I'll do the breathing in the morning, and then when it's time to shower later on, I won't really, I'll just turn on the cold, at the end of the hot. And I think you get the benefits of just that process of neutralizing, where you get used to the cold. At first it shocks you, but you stay under it, the water, and then your body adapts. And that adaptation process is where the beneficial thing is happening.
Yeah. So the water penetrating in, or the cold penetrating in, and then the water that actually does go in, that you're drinking, our loose plan is to eventually drink spring water out of the earth directly. But we've been on a long, bottle to bottle or gallon to gallon
Yep.
journey with Boole spring water from Minnesota, the finest water in Minnesota, which it says on the label.
Yeah, we pick it up at Kowalski. Buhl. Buhl. And we've had many gallons of it.
In fact, this episode of Temple Body is brought to you by Boole.
Finest water in Minnesota.
Be cool, drink Boole.
Mm-hmm. I support Buhl. It's a quality.
It's typically 20 to 30 cents more per gallon than something like Chippewa. And we pay the premium prices.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Minnesota. Keep it local.
Yeah.
And it says some other taglines on the label that are interesting are, it says no chlorine. And it also says pure, not purified. So to me, it is pure because it's just from a spring, but it's not water that's been processed by technology to make it clean.
Right.
It just is clean because that's the natural state of water. We fuck up water by our processing, or we fuck it up and then process it back to a drinkable point. But at what cost? What does it have in it? And that's a whole nother podcast. But on Temple Body, it's about can we take action? So of course we know that drinking water out of plastic bottles is clearly not the way humans were meant to do it.
Right.
But we're it's a stopgap measure from just swilling off the whatever comes out of the tap, because we've just made personal choices to avoid it because of that thing that I didn't put a name to it for a while, but that idea of drinking unprocessed water, a lot like people talk about drinking unprocessed or eating unprocessed foods. Your food is processed, your air is processed, your water is processed. And even your sunlight, if it's coming through a glass or coming through your sunglasses or what have you, it's whenever possible having that direct contact. So same goes with the elements. When you're in contact with the elements, the other elements, having that direct contact and then that unprocessed contact.
Right.
Because I think the processing is what sort of separates us a bit from the element itself. It puts chemicals between us and what is a sacred element of the earth. That's, if anything's divine, that's divine, because that's just the basic components of this mortal coil that we inhabit right now.
Yeah.
That we evolved for.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you have all these pipes driving all your water to your eventual body, I know it sounds completely revolutionary to say, oh, everyone should just truck bottles around and then drink and then have to recycle the bottles. That, I know that's not sustainable either, but that's why we're interested in this idea of spring water. And we're not talking about more bottling. It's more just you have to hike out to a spring and fill up your own bottles and make it a fun hike and do it for the experience. Don't do it for how much you're saving money wise. It's not about money. It's about getting the pure water, and that's a high value target.
And the process of harvesting your own pure water with minerals and microbes.
Yeah, and just like how we demonstrated we're willing to pay more for Boole, if we harvested our own water, we're paying more than that in just probably gas to get there. But at the end of the day, it's like, what's more sacred than the temple body? What you're putting in the temple.
Right.
So if your holy water in your temple has chlorine and fluoride in it, how does that affect the product, what that temple produces,
Mm-hmm.
or what direction that temple takes? It might just be enough to knock it into a dangerous place if that temple is already sort of predisposed to going a bad way.
Yeah.
So it's all holistic. It's like, of course, if I drink some water from the tap, it's not going to affect me that much. But if I do it for a sustained amount of time, I feel like I feel it. But that's just a personal thing. It's like, it's more of just a philosophy that I think people should be conscious of as they continue to do whatever they do for them. Just the fact that it's sort of a trend in health and wellness now to harvest your own water. And there's a website called findaspring.com, and you can locate a spring near you. And it's put on by a podcaster that we like, Daniel Vitalis, Rewild Yourself podcast. And it's just about overcoming human domestication. Because we've all been kind of, we've been on momentum as we grew up in this culture to just be comfortable. And that's great. Everyone loves to be comfortable. That's the goal. But creating these situations where you test yourself just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you go against the grain, if you will, of what advertisers want you to do or capitalism wants you to do.
And it is a test to go use findaspring.com and find a spring in Minneapolis, and it's right off the river, and you go and you have to hang off a cliff to gather some, and you drink it, and it doesn't taste the best, but you drink it, because you want to drink your own water. And it is a test.
Weird thing about your harvesting experience is the water tasted a little weird at first.
Yeah, that was so weird.
And as it sat in the fridge for like a week, it tasted normal. It tasted like nothing.
Is it because like the soot in it sunk to the bottom, and it was the soot that tasted funky?
There was no layer on the bottom that existed. No, but yeah, I don't know.
It was noticeably different tasting though after it sat in the fridge for a while.
So we're just gonna we're gonna use ourselves as human guinea pigs. We're gonna start drinking the water out of the earth, and you might think, oh, isn't it? It could be contaminated with feces or something. And of course that's a fear, but when you're actually there and you see it coming out of the earth, you know it's not. And plus there's reports from people from different springs, and no one's ever reported getting sick.
Well, that's the idea. You want to use if you're going to use findaspring.com, is it .com? Yeah. Then it's like social media for finding springs. People have reviews. They're more like a Yelp, or is it Yelp? Like a Yelp of springs. And there's popular springs, and people have reviews of those springs. And, there's people, like, I've looked at some of the reviews. People are talking about how they've been going to this spring for years, and that it's great and it's safe. Not only safe, but very beneficial, because it's spring water. I mean, we drink it. We buy Boole. It came from a spring. We buy Chippewa. Came from a spring.
So there's actual evidence that water that's flowing out of the earth has a vibrational resonance or frequency to it.
A structure,
yeah, perfect. So structured water, and you can recreate that. They sell products to take your water, feed it through this
Vortex. Yeah.
and then it comes out the other side natural. And not only does it, so if you had water like Bool that's been sitting in a bottle for I don't know how long,
Yeah.
and then you feed it through a vortator, you can get essentially what would be akin to flowing water out of the earth,
Right.
out of the bedrock, full of all the minerals and just the elements, the natural state of water that is the healthiest for the body. It's been proven, and free of any man-made chemicals
Right.
that they just dump into the supply. I mean, they take. I don't even want to think about it. It's almost like factory farming has a really bad name, but of course, we celebrate our municipal water supply.
Especially Minneapolis
Yeah.
it's celebrated. Yeah.
And I like that it's good. I like that people like it.
Oh, I mean, for sure. We both grew up on municipal
Yeah.
water.
And we still like shower in it, and that's a whole other issue. But like, and if it's on you, it's in you. So of course we are taking in plenty of this water, but the goal is to experiment, is to see what happens if we start moving towards unprocessed water in our own diet.
Right.
And make it part of our water practice, our hydration practice.
And it's very fun to go harvest water. You get to, just being at the spring is very pleasant. To the visual and sound frequencies of a spring is very pleasant. I remember when I went to High Dock to harvest water, I just took some audio recording of just the spring water coming out of the earth.
So what's explain High Dock?
High Dock is the name of the guy that loved the spring that I found on findaspring.com, which is in Minneapolis. It's right by where the Greenway meets the River Road. You know where that is? Mm-hmm. And then there's the bluff overlooking the river. Mm-hmm. Well, on that bluff is a big rock, and coming out of the rock, out of the ground, is High Duck Spring.
Wow.
And I forget his first name, but it was like James High Duck or something. And he loved the spring. He loved gathering water and drinking out of the spring, so they named it after him. Now, you go into the Minneapolis website or whatever, they say don't drink out of that. But I don't think it's because they know if the water's bad or not.
Right.
It's because they don't want people you literally have to hang off this cliff from a tree root to harvest it. And I mean, I almost fucking died trying to harvest water. Not the water didn't kill me. Trying to get the water almost killed me. And I did fall. Luckily, it just wasn't that bad. There was like the earth gave out, and I tumbled down, like because I held onto a branch of a small tree, and it just ripped out. The roots came out of the ground, and I went tumbling down. But I did get the water. I got like a gallon of water, and we used it for coffee a lot. It was good. High Duck.
We were a little freaked. It was our
We didn't know.
It was our first
water harvest.
Yes.
But the plan is, on this road trip to Sedona, findaspring.com, find the popular springs, and we're going to harvest enough water for the week. And we're going to use all of those Bool bottles that we purchased. We don't just throw away the Bool bottles. We're going to use them. And, hey, they could be made with hemp plastic. So why is it my fault? That's sort of how I feel. Why is it my fault? So I'm the bad guy because I buy petroleum plastic when they could be made with hemp plastic. But I'm not. If there was a hemp plastic bottle, I would buy it. I would buy even some inferior water just to support the hemp plastic. I would buy the hemp plastic.
So hopefully these other springs, you don't have to hang off a cliff like Indiana Jones and you come back with a gallon. But I do like that harrowing tale.
Yeah.
You on the bluffs of the river trying to going High Duck's footsteps. You didn't love it as much as him. He must have loved dangerous trips to the water spring.
Right. Well, I think this was before Minneapolis had like the best municipal water system. Mm-hmm. So this is back in the day when there wasn't the best municipal water in Minneapolis. And he was like, fuck it, I'm getting this High Duck. I'm getting the spring water straight from the ground. So I want to get it tested. I am going to get it tested. Let's wrap this up.
I like it.
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Temple Body Podcast. Ken made this music right now in collaboration with Nick Ulrich. I asked Ken, and he was gracious. He made it happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Temple Body. We got more Temple Body coming up very soon, actually, in a special episode. Very special. Ken set it up, thankfully. So, we'll see you soon.